Hey everyone! Today I wanted to talk about the paneling of the new One Piece chapter. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but I had some time this weekend and chapter 1180 looked really cool. So let's get into it. Make sure to subscribe if you want new videos to appear in your subscription feed, and make sure to check your subscription feed if you want to reduce your reliance on the homepage algorithm. The chapter opens up with a bang, putting Imu's character design on full display. The way he takes the center of the spread, overlaps the panels, and draws the eye with strong black and white contrast makes it feel like he's taking control, making it all about him, just as he is in story. Notice how in a physical copy, the seam doesn't hide his face, tail, or weapon. There's a lot going on in his design, and honestly, I'm not going to analyze most of it here. We don't know enough about him to say what each element represents. But I do like the contrast between vertical and horizontal lines, and I like the spooky black power ring over his head. It seems to be part of his powers, and One Piece is great at externalizing power mechanics into visual concepts, with distinct, recognizable shapes. Also, symbolically, it harkens back to Enel. But what stands out to me the most is the tall, triangular shape. He's drawn this way throughout the chapter, which not only gives him a consistent and memorable shape that's recognizable even in smaller panels, but represents the hierarchical, top-heavy structure of the world government that Imu places himself on top of. He literally looks down on the world from the top of a steep cliff, as seen in the first panel of the chapter on a spire of the same shape. The following section is built out of small panels. Small panels make actions feel fast, and make the transition to something larger more impactful. Specifically, they narrow focus, like we're leaning in to squint at something, so that something large can blast us. And the tight framing withholds information, creating an underlying discomfort that a larger shot can resolve by giving more complete information. Imu covering part of the panel adds to that. To save time, I'm not going to point out every place where this technique is used. You're smart, you can notice the rest yourself. Let's talk about how this page directs the eye. Imu's body and the building point us down, and Hajrudin and Stansen's eyes take us across small Imu to big Imu. From there, we follow the cloak and the literal arrow. Or we can take in his design, along the snaking diagonals up to his head and the speech bubble, which lines up with the angle of his hair. Crossing his head right before the close-up makes it feel like we're zooming in on him. Our eye then falls down his body and weapon, and up into Sommer's. The second close-up is nearly identical, which puts emphasis on what changed, his eyes. Both in-world and on the page, they point at Sommer's. The next page gives us another technique that the chapter loves, skipping time. By skipping to when an action has already occurred, it makes it feel faster than we can follow. This combines with how space is time in manga, as seeing Gerd before Imu gives us the same feeling that she gets, noticing her injury before she even notices him. Even the contrast between her calm expression and her gruesome injury tell us not just what emotion she feels, but what moment in time these panels occur at. The way her fingertips fall only a short distance each panel further tells us how time is passing, yet still lets us linger in each moment. The panel of her reacting brings us closer to her mind, making for a natural transition into her perspective. It's simple, but I really like how the injury is conveyed through shape and negative space, and the trail of sound effects leading into Sommer's body creates an illusion of motion. The way this row of panels directs the eye is really clever. The diagonal of Gerd's eyes and hands leads into the gutter between the next two panels, and that consistent downward flow enhances the impact of Sommer's landing. Next page, we get Zoro's arrival. Zoro's triangular shape here isn't as steep, which could symbolize a few things. The most striking part is the height difference, fitting how Zoro is challenging someone at the top. The eye starts by going down, with Imu's tail and the sound effect bubble, then up with the scabbards, Imu's weapon, and both characters' cloaks. We're looking up with Zoro at this imposing threat, which matches the low camera angle. The small close-up panels achieve similar effects to before, specifically in how they withhold information. It's representing how both characters lock eyes, and for a moment don't see anything else. That enhances the surprise when we expand to see that Hajrudin is here. The eye goes down Imu's hair, crossing him again before reaching Hajrudin's fist, like we notice him with Imu. The distance we travel emphasizes how Hajrudin has pulled his fist back, so we anticipate a right-to-left motion. You expect the fist to follow the path your eye takes next. Hajrudin dominates the panel with his size, which is ultimately to set up the subversion of how ineffective he'll be. The following tight panel of Stansen feels out of nowhere, as Hajrudin doesn't know he's coming. And the final panel again reuses a shot of Imu to emphasize what changed, his eye. The paneling technique is characterizing Imu. He acknowledges these threats, but doesn't care enough to say anything. The next page gives the right-to-left motion we anticipated, but it's actually Stansen saving Hajrudin. Like with Gerd, the order of elements conveys the sequence of events, physically and mentally. Stansen is first since he moved in time to save Hajrudin, then comes his injured leg, which leads us toward Hajrudin. From there we go down Imu's weapon, our eyes matching the flow of motion. The injury happened first, before we or Hajrudin realize what Imu has done. Then we hit Zoro, reminding us that he's there. Zoro starts the next page facing left and angled down. This sets up the diagonal flow of his attack. The perpendicular angle with Imu makes it feel unexpected. Imu didn't position himself to be ready for it. The eye then follows Imu up into his tail. This doesn't just remind us that the tail exists, but makes it feel like it's launching out. The eye travels against the direction of motion as it enters the next panel. It feels unsatisfying after Zoro's flow was set up because his attack fails. And if the eye does go over to the speech bubble first, it follows Imu's tail rather than Zoro. It works either way. The eye travels up then down across the next row of panels, and the moment the direction shifts is the moment Zoro realizes he's in trouble. Both the black flame and Imu's hand pose are distinctive, memorable images to associate with a power and an attack. And the way the hand looks like it's going to flick makes us anticipate that an attack will cross the negative space between them, left to right, which is exactly what the next page gives us. Technically, this motion is against the eye's direction too, but since we've been following Zoro, it adds to the feeling that he got pushed back. The off-center circles in the arrangement, between the cloud effects and Zoro's coat, then add depth and more rightward momentum. Imu's arm and the gutter to the left also act like speed lines. Now, there's more cool pages here and details that I don't have time to cover, but if you want to read my full analysis of the rest of the chapter, you can subscribe to my Patreon. Anyway, let's pull an Imu and skip ahead to Sanji's turn at attacking. This page makes great use of spacing. Sanji's kick is on the right side of the panel, meaning all the space to the left he failed to push Imu into makes his attack feel weak. And when Imu attacks, the imminent clash is in the middle, making it feel more dangerous. This technique also came up with Zoro, with the space to the left when he attacked Imu, and the space he traveled through when knocked back. What I find really cool about the Sanji page is how it gets away with breaking rules. The directions and positioning are super messy. Sanji goes from running right to attacking left, then looks left in surprise to an attack that comes from the right. The positions are consistent in world, but the sequence fails to display them in a consistent way. But displaying positions is not the goal of paneling. The goal is, among other things, to convey what happens. A consistent depiction of where characters are is one way to do that, but it's not the only way. The first panel leads the eye down to Sanji's leg, so it can then go up with his kick. The position of his foot in the first panel is, on the page, roughly where his foot kicked from in the second. So even though the camera has flipped around, the motion feels connected. After that, we follow Sanji's leg and Imu's cloak down, then follow Sanji's other leg into more small panels for speed. Because we're going to the right, it feels like a twist when Sanji's eyes point us back to the left, similar to how changing direction matched how things got worse for Zoro. And even though the camera is swiveling around like crazy, his eyes are looking at the attack that now comes in, and even directing our eyes to match the motion. Here, the order of elements comes in again, as seeing Imu's kick first makes it feel like Sanji is slower. Now finally, let's take a look at Loki's arrival. Just like the start of the chapter, we begin with small panels that withhold information before the full reveal. Of course, we know from the giant foot that it's gonna be Loki, but the slow build-up is more exciting to follow. That giant foot tells us someone big is here, and we get a second clue in Imu looking upward. Imu's hair then directs us diagonally toward Loki, so we're looking up with him and feeling how huge Loki is. Our eye then travels down Loki, toward Imu, then down Imu's blade to the final panels. This sequence visually and conceptually parallels the beginning of the chapter. Loki's shape is just as tall and imposing, but it's not as triangular, so it doesn't feel repetitive. His overall shading is darker than Imu's, representing both his mood and the nihilistic, apocalyptic figure he sees himself as, something potentially even darker than the authoritarian ruler. And though Imu is technically smaller than the giants, the beginning used the same techniques to emphasize his presence. I don't know if this fight will go well for Loki, but the paneling tells us it's gonna be a big deal. Hope you enjoyed the video. I have no idea if I'll make another anytime soon, but the better the paneling is in this fight, the more I'll be tempted.